Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday. No, I just said Thursday. Tuesday night now, book club. We've been Tuesday for months, and that was throwback. Tuesday night book club. We are going through real leadership, and we are on chapter 7, which is called Decision. Basically, he talks about being a lighthouse. And I thought this was interesting because um, there's a there's somebody that I in the network marketing field, not necessarily Plexus, but somebody that I just follow for really great ideas on different things or whatever. And I remember her company actually was one of the ones that went under, and she had talked on how she was planning on being a lighthouse for the people through their storm. And I just thought, so I kept thinking about her through this whole thing, but you know, one of the big things that she really emphasized is that leadership is about not show it's about showing courage in the storm and not showing the fear and the panic in the storm, and how as leaders we need to be the ones that are actually like a safe place, the place that people can go to for safety, because when things get crazy they are looking for safety. They are looking for like, where can I go for something that's steady? Where can I go for something that's firm? Like I need like that firm foundation that I can just cling to so that I know that everything's going to be okay. And if you are, not steady and you're crashing along with the waves and they can't follow you what you're doing, that's not that's not going to be very effective leadership. Um, he says most leaders are weather vanes, whether whichever way the wind blows, that's the way they turn. That just doesn't work. When times are hard and things get ugly, you've got to be that person others look to and see only strength. And so I just thought that was such a good picture when he's talking about the weather vane, how they like, just kind of go with the wind, whatever. And I know there's been times, I think specifically in this business, it can get really, really hard, admittedly, to show up in that way, because where I mean, your work is directly affected by other people's actions, right? So it's like our points are affected when someone's points are affected. Like it kind of like their lack of action and their lack of motivation and their drive does a lot of times ultimately affect our business, right? So it can be admittedly hard, I feel like, unless I'm just alone in this, not to feel frustrated and not to feel like you want to like show some of that frustration, be like, like, and it's these are people that you work with all the time. So it's like you want to be able to show sometimes, what not that you want to be able to show. You can show some of those like lack of belief, doubt, different things like that that can show up in the way that we're leading people. But these are the people that again directly affect your business. These are the people that so if you start panicking and flailing around and not showing up as a rock steady leader, you're actually just doing yourself a disservice in this whole thing too. They need something, like I said, they need something steady that they can cling to. When he says, let me tell you a hard truth, it doesn't matter if you're a leader, you can't afford the indulgence of having moods. You've got to be the one who, when people come to work in the morning, they already know exactly where you stand. You have to be the one they can count on. You have to be their rock. And I was just talking to someone today, and I remember saying, like, as a leader, we have to learn to absorb frustration. Like if people are frustrated, or if you're frustrated or whatever, like it can be sometimes be hard, even with your own teams or your kids or whatever. It can be hard not to be frustrated with things that they are even doing, but you have to learn to absorb that frustration and be able to lead from a place of like, okay, we're going to change the gear here. We're not going to be what is that? We're not going to be a thermometer. We're going to be a thermostat. We're going to set the temperature here. We're going to shift everything here, and we're going to be able to call what this looks like. We are going to create the culture. We're not going to run our businesses defensively. We're going to be on the offense. Whatever comes at us, we're going to be able to absorb that and just still be able to maintain composure as a leader. One thing I did like about this chapter is it was not very fluffy as far as like, which I think this is sometimes where I feel like, I don't know, is it society or whatever, kind of gives this whole like, oh, everyone just needs to be real and be yourself, and you need to have your feelings, and it's kind of gotten soft to where it's like people don't know how to show up as leaders. If they're feeling a certain way, they feel like they can just show that and act however they want, because we're supposed to just be so real about who we are and how we live our lives and whatever. But I like that this kind of give you a firm kick in the pants, is like, if you're a leader, you cannot afford to have moods. You can't be moody like that. You don't get that privilege. You, if you want all the benefits and the awesome things that come with the leadership, the paycheck, the spotlight, the visibility, the titles, all of those things, you don't get those by being able to have the same things as others. So, if you've got a business builder that's being moody, that's great. You need to find a way to not show that and just be able to offer coaching or advice or help them move forward without also getting frustrated or getting in the weeds with them or whatever. Like you've got to be something rock steady and firm for them to stand on. Um, the other thing, and I want to open this up here in just a second because I know we're already running a little bit behind. There's a couple other things I wanted to touch on where he talks about a decision and he says, the word decide, a few other words end with that same last four letters: homicide, suicide, is it patricide and fratricide? I think is how I don't know how to pronounce those. I was like, I've never even heard of those words, honestly. But he's basically says that in those something has to die. And I don't know, that like hit me today. And I've actually been like really thinking on it a lot since I read that. Is I'm like, gosh, something has to die when you make the decision. So when we say something like make the decision to just do it, make the decision to be a jewel this year, make the decision to make this year like whatever, we're like, okay, I'm deciding right now. Well, in that decision, it's not just that decision itself, it's actually killing off all the other options, essentially, is what he says. You're basically saying there is no other option. It's not an option to fall back on my current career. It's not an option for me to say my husband makes enough money and I don't need to do this. It's not an option for me like this is too hard, and it's not an option to say I can't find the time. It's not like all those excuses they're dead. Like the excuses are dead. We're literally just making the decision that this is what we're going to do because all the other options have been killed off. And when you make a decision with that mentality, that decision has so much more weight than if you're just kind of flippantly like, oh yeah, I decide that next year I'm going to be an emerald, and like you make the decision in your head, but you never actually kill off the other options. That's actually not doing anything. You have to basically make it to where there is no other option. When we say draw a line in the sand, I almost wish we'd say like draw a line in the wet concrete. That's, because it's like it needs to be something that can't be erased and that you can't go back to the other side. And then the other one that I loved here that I wanted to touch on was he says, um, when he's talking about his Moses meeting with Chuck Prince and the 2 years that they had waiting for the change from city. He says, here's what I learned during those 2 years. Situations are going to change. You better be fluid enough to change with them, but you need to keep your mission and purpose constant. You can't count on anything because everything can change and probably will change. You have to be the thing that doesn't change, the thing people count on. You have to be the lighthouse built on a foundation of rock. And I think that's where it's so important. We can't build our business based on something like Icon Club. You can't build your business based on convention contests. You can't build your business based on leadership content. Like you can't build it only based on what the point, like we need to have a long-term vision here. So when you're building your vision or when you're building your business, build it on your vision, build it on your values, build it on your passion, build it on consistency. Like those things are going to stick with you in the long term because like he says, things are going to change. I mean, we've been through, I know Jamie's been through a lot more than I even have, but like just since I've been with the business, there's been so many changes that through people, compensation plan changes or I mean, I dare tell you back in the day, we had 99s and 199s were our welcome packs, and 99s didn't count for points. So you could only sell 199 welcome packs if you wanted to get points for stuff way back in the day. And so, I mean, like, there's a lot of things that have changed, and it turns out that they were for the better, but it's because we had solid leadership that was able to be consistent and explain that to us and lead with vision and passion and that consistency, where I know there was other leaders in this company that I know of that freaked out and their teams freaked out, and those teams are no longer doing anything. They're not making a paycheck anymore because they couldn't handle the changes. Again, turns out the changes were for our best, and we're actually doing way better than we were back then. But you just have to trust that if you really align yourself with this company and you really align yourself with the leadership, and I mean, I feel like everything that you could possibly want to know about Plexus, you could go and find it. So figure out if you align with the leadership, if you align with the company, if you align with the vision, the values, and then you just need to trust that every decision they're making is in your best interest and just start leading in that way. So now you can just build your business, like I said, on your values and your vision and whatnot, because things will change, but you have to be constant, you have to be consistent. And when things change, great, the compensation plan maybe changed a little bit, or the back office changed the way it looks a little bit, or, oh, this product is gone and this one doesn't matter. This is what we're building here and we're moving forward with it. All of these things are just tiny little details that don't really matter. But you have to be a consistent leader and you have to know where you're going and where you're headed and just keep that train moving whenever you see change. Um, yes, so that's basically what happened. I want to open it up to the rest of you because we're, I know, pushing time. So anyways, anyone else have anything that stuck out to them?
Well, I think it was so great. I mean, he emphasizes throughout this chapter, but the fact that he pointed out quite often that one, lighthouses are, really only necessary or there for the storms, right? It's not, I mean, yeah, they're pretty, you can take pictures by, but their purpose is for the storms. And um knowing that, I mean, leadership essentially then, is really what is needed for moments like those, and he points out it's anyone can be positive, anyone can, even lead when things are going great, but what about when they're not? So to me, that's just a reinforcement and something that we should be able to anticipate that there will be hard things, that there are going to be moments when we have to step up and lead and um like Natalie was talking about, like be that constant and be that, rock and and be that person amongst the really hard. And I think so many times, it might be an easy thing to say or something that's like, well, yeah, that seems duh or whatever. But how many times do the hard things happen and then comes the panic or comes the stress or comes the, like doubts and all the things that just want to engulf everything, um, versus kind of having that purpose and knowing like I am stepping into leadership. I'm building this business. I'm going to lead my team and knowing like, yeah, there's going to be the ups and downs and there's going to be the hard things. And I don't need to be surprised or shocked by it. I think there comes, it doesn't take away how hard things can be, but I think it can um, provide a sense of calm through that, as you gain maturity and wisdom with that versus instant panic or instant like worst case scenario or instant whatever. And if you can center and ground yourself and know like to take a step and take a breath and to look at the big picture or keep that vision strong. I mean, goodness gracious, when he thought he had everything lined up and it's all of a sudden it came crashing down and he says, what could we do? He says we could persevere. And that's always the answer, right? We can persevere. We know that, okay, it comes down to a choice, right? So we always have that choice on how we react or how quick we react. Sometimes we need to pause and let ourselves have a moment to gather, but we know, I don't know how we're going to persevere, but we're going to persevere, right? We're going to figure it out.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's why it's so important to like when those times show up, it's so important to be consistent and show up every day just so that you gain trust with yourself. So that, I mean, that's a real thing is being able to trust yourself to show up and be constant and be steady because you have to lead yourself too. So when all of those storms hit and everything happens, you need to be able to walk yourself through it and, persevere through. What do? We persevere. We keep going so that you don't fly off the handle too. It's good.
Yeah, it reminded me of the excerpt that we had talked about last week about looking at things as a problem or as a situation
Mm.
and kind of thinking about how Okay, as catastrophic as this may seem, I think on 185 he says extraordinary circumstances are exactly when rock solid consistency matters most. So again, just thinking about a circumstance as a situation rather than a problem. How are we going to get through the situation rather than how are we going to get through a problem? It just has a different connotation. So, um, just something that I had thought about tying it back to the last chapter too.
It's good. Kind of reminds me of Leah's call that she just did, where she said like decide to be good at duplicating and just like don't they look at things as like, okay, this is a problem. Like, no, where's an opportunity for me to grow? Like, what's a situation that I can lean into that I can learn more? So decide to be a duplicator, decide to, have good retention and just make that decision. And she said decide a few times, and I was like, which means kill off other options. I was doing that in my brain. So what does that look like in the practicality of it?
This is a little bit more big picture focused, but I couldn't help but again think about how much the Primerica company flow is so similar to the industry that we're in as well. And I couldn't help but think about, Natalie even touched on it for those of us that have been here for a hot minute or two, um, the changes that we've seen at the corporate level. And I think it's even, something to be highlighted right now with some of the changes that have recently gone on at the corporate level with Plexus. And I just think that it highlights how important it is to align yourself with a company that has integrity and that is all in and there. And I truly believe that the leaders at corporate in our company are fighting tooth and nail and looking at the big picture and the interest of the field just as genuinely as he is, as he's describing what he was trying to do for for his company in the field. And I feel so grateful that um, we are where we are, and that we're in the company that we're in, and that we have the leadership that we have, and that we have um, those lighthouses at a corporate level, even, let alone our individual team lighthouse leaders that we have. And that literally has duplicated down from the top. But um, I couldn't help but step back and look at that. And that's where my mind kept going, was just thinking the correlation.
Yeah. I get that. I thought of that too a little bit, especially when he was talking about how they were basically offering them a lot of money. And he was like, I mean, we would do really well, but we need to take care of our people. And I remember thinking, like, man, that's our company would they would operate that way. They have. I'm sure they have, because with what we've built, you can't tell me that they've had a lot of opportunities to take a huge paycheck and walk away.
I was thinking about, and I'm not sure what was all talked about. I jumped on a little bit late, but like being the solid rock and like dependable in ups and downs for people. I also was thinking about, I think it was my first Ruby retreat. Brittany Howard was training and she was talking about how, or maybe someone else was saying it about her. I don't remember. And I don't remember the story exactly, other than like she had business builders and then they kind of like went quiet. They had like real life stuff happening. Things were hard. And she went and developed like a fast start Ruby or something, and um like I love the idea of like obviously you want to be there and like supporting your people, but also like I think being that rock solid dependable person in that you keep building and you keep like showing what's possible and you keep going. And like even I remember Linda is on here, like early on you had some stuff going on and that you saw I was building and you came back and you're like, okay, like yeah, let's do this. I think it's important for you to be like that steady rock and just like showing what's possible and just keeping that open door. Like we're not pressuring people. I've got Justina's got a lot of stuff going on right now. I know a lot of you know what's going on. Like not pressuring her to come in and do anything she can't do right now, but like the door's open and the train's still going, and she's welcome to jump on board whenever she can. And I think that just like shows people, like, I don't know, I feel like that feels really dependable. Like, if no matter the season, and if you just keep going and doing the thing, I feel like that's empowering. Like, okay, like I can go do the thing too. So anyway, and Linda, happy birthday.
Oh,
You're
happy
on here on your
birthday.
birthday. Glad
So,
to see your face.
so good.
Thanks. I was late, but I'm here. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. What were you were just saying about oh, with like, keep building when people step away for a little bit. I think that's so important because when they do come back, you want it to be the same. You want them to be able to just jump right onto the same train that's going the same direction, that has the same, it's like they know they can jump right back in without having to like, okay, what's the temperature of the team now? How's the culture changed? What are we doing? What's changed? Like they can just seamlessly jump back in when they are ready. So I think that's so important. Anybody else?
Reading this chapter was our pastor had made it said a quote at church on Sunday. And when I was reading it, I was thinking about what he had said, and I don't know the exact words. I don't have my book in front of me that I write down little notes in from church, but it was in the same sense of when things happen for a reason. And he goes to think positive with that. You take that and say, where's God going to bring me into the next steps? Instead of saying, okay, this. So it kind of reminds me in this chapter of like, okay, this happened. Okay, where do we step next? Do we, fall back, drop off? We just keep going in steps. Even though things aren't going our way, we step where we put God in front and help him. He'll help you step on the steps that you need to go to. So that was really interesting that I heard this on Sunday and then read it in this chapter.
Yeah, it's good. If you stay connected to the Lord, everything else just seems to fall into place. So good. Anything else? Okay. We'll go ahead and wrap it up and call it a night. Next week, we are talking chapter 8, The End of the World, Don't Burn Bridges. That one's going to be so good, I can tell already. So we will see you guys next Tuesday. Have a good night, y'all.